Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Power Moves Young Leaders Network Edition. This episode, I chat with Thea Hanson of RE/MAX All Pro Realty in Trail, BC. Thea has a long list of things she's involved with. First and foremost, she's a mother. She's also a full-time realtor. She's also a city councilor, and she also volunteers on a number of committees within her community, which she dives into all of that during the interview. She talks about how she manages her time in order to make all of this possible, and then she really dives into the benefit that she gets, not just the business side of it, all of the business use cases, but also personally how it makes her feel and why it's important for her to be a leader within her community. This is such a great conversation, not to mention Thea is also a longtime ambassador with the Young Leaders Network. So toward the end of the conversation, we talk a little bit about the YLN. I hope you enjoy this interview. For RE/MAX, this is Power Moves YLN Edition, where we go in depth with some of the best young RE/MAX agents and brokers to unpack what it takes to be a top producing real estate agent and the moves that took their careers to new heights. My name is Wade Paterson. I'm a director with RE/MAX Canada, and I'm your host for this audio experience. And on this episode, I'm joined by Thea Hanson of RE/MAX All Pro Realty in Trail, BC. Thea has earned a plethora of achievements throughout her 16-year career, including the RE/MAX Chairman's Club Award and the RE/MAX Lifetime Achievement Career Award, while also consistently placing within the top 1% of agents registered with the Kootenay Association of REALTORS. Beyond real estate, Thea is an active volunteer in her community and now even a city councilor as well. Thea, welcome to Power Moves YLN Edition.
Thanks, Wade, so much for having me. I actually have been excited about this since we planned it. But, as I've been kind of putting thoughts together, I've been just getting more excited about all of the things that I really love, all of my passions in one place.
Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation. And let's start off with some of the things I just mentioned. Okay, so you're a successful agent, you're a mom, you're a city councilor, and you're also a community volunteer. So how do you manage your time to make all of this possible?
Well, I have the most incredible assistant ever. And funny to say that, she's also my mother. So no one has your back like your family. Also, my husband is just like super dad. So if I've got to run, he's just got it locked down, as well as just like a really incredible group of cheerleaders between friends and family that if we've got something going on, they know that I'm just trying to make the community a better place, and they're happy to jump in because they know I'm busy and help out. So it's been great. I couldn't ask for a better cheerleading squad.
So you've been in this industry for 16 years. What led you down this path in the first place? I mean, was real estate agent always something that you envisioned yourself doing, or how did you get to this point?
It's funny. And, when we were in Vegas at R4, I actually told the story of how I got into real estate. And it was actually my uncle, who's my godfather, that had suggested it. I was, in commercial services, customer relations my whole life, and was working in a high level car dealership at the time. And I just wanted to do more. And unfortunately, there was just not really room for me to grow where we were at and the level we were at. And my uncle was like, why don't you get into real estate? You love people. You love doing something different every day. And people just like, they come to you, like your aura just attracts people. And, you're brutally honest, which is really important, but you also could sell ice to an Eskimo. So, it's like one of those things, you have all of those things, you should definitely look into it. And literally a week later, I had signed up for my course and I passed my exam 4 months later, and I quit my job before I even found out I passed.
Wow. That's incredible. And so, the focus of this conversation, Tia, I really want to get into community involvement, and you're involved in a number of ways, but let's start off with the big one. You're a city councilor, which is a huge amount of time, I would imagine. But I guess the first question is just what made you want to run in the first place? And now that you've been in the role for a little while, how does the reality compare to what you maybe initially anticipated?
I was born a volunteer. I was born into a family that you give back. My parents always were, volunteering for things, hosting. My mom was on like a parks board. My dad, he, ran the curling club. So it was just kind of bred into me to be someone that gives back. So I was on a multitude of boards prior to running for city council and making decisions to become a city councilor. And our downtown improvement committee, our economic development group, other local societies, sports teams. But it got to a point where I wasn't able to make the decisions. So you can bring the ideas and suggestions forward for the changes that you need to see in your community. But if you're not the one that votes for it, then it doesn't necessarily move forward. And at the time, we had a very aged city council. And I thought, all of my clients, there are a lot of families, younger families, and they really, they need representation for the things that they're worried about for the next 25 years in their community. And me as a mom am concerned about in our community. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm probably crazy. But this amazing consultant, and she used to be the mayor of Golden, she said to me, you know what, you have a strong back, but you have a big heart. And she said that is what it takes to be someone in local government. So I took a risk and managed to get myself elected. So I'm in my second year now, and I actually love it. And it's funny because people are going, oh, well, you're so busy now. You're a city councilor. They didn't realize that I was volunteering on so many boards that the amount that I was giving back to our community hasn't changed. It's just pivoted. So what I was volunteering is basically what I'm still doing now, but just restructured differently, but in a position of where people publicly see it, as opposed to just in the background that I was always doing. So it's been a pivot, but it's funny. I haven't lost any business because of it, which a lot of naysayers actually said, oh, well, you're not, you're going to lose business because you're in city council. And I said, well, if those people don't know who I am and that I'm voting with my head and my heart on things, then maybe those people aren't the people I'm meant to be working with anyways. So it's been great. It's been a little bit challenging just managing more emotions of other individuals than just the ones in my, my career, but it's been really rewarding. And the appreciation for people in our community saying, thank you for giving back and thank you for putting your time in when we know you're busy. It's been great.
Well said. And you mentioned there early on that you wanted to make an actual change and have a vote. Is there any one thing in your first 2 years that stands out that you're really proud of? Maybe something that you got to voice a concern over, or something where you specifically made a difference in a policy that was adopted?
Well, we've actually, so last year I went to the Union of BC Municipalities conference, and it was my first year going, but it was amazing because the amount of networking and the partnerships that I've built because of my real estate career and being, not afraid to just randomly go and talk to people, the amount of networking connections I've made at higher levels of government has just been a great asset and great support moving forward for our city as a whole. I mean, we've had challenges like every community, but we've been able to move things forward and, start making some significant progress, which, during COVID and whatnot over a few years, there wasn't as much stuff accomplished, right? But I would say that there's definitely a few moving parts that we're actually hurrying up and waiting for things to come to fruition right now. So there'll be probably some big announcements coming in the future.
And then in terms of your education locally. So I'm sure you're somebody, you mentioned, you had already been volunteering with these boards. So you already were deeply embedded and probably had a lot of knowledge of what was happening on the community. But I've sat through council meetings and there's a lot of information that's shared. You go really in depth. You hear from a lot of community members. How has that education you've gotten from sitting on council benefited you in your realtor career?
So because I am very deeply involved in housing, that part has been amazing. So knowing every single webinar regarding the new legislation changes for zoning, small scale multi-unit development, I have been involved in. So being able to advise clients on what things are happening as things are moving forward. Also, there's been new legislations for tenancy that's come forward. And because of that relationship that I have now with the policy committee for the Association of Interior Realtors as a committee member, and, City Councilor, we will be having meetings with the housing minister. So being able to look holistically at the situation as opposed to just from a city councilor's perspective or a realtor's perspective, I'm getting a more holistic opinion to be able to provide a more thoughtful explanation of why I think things should be one way or another, or give legitimate reasons and situations that maybe weren't brought forward to them, or maybe they didn't know about, and how that would change in, our community and how that would affect our community.
And then in terms of the networking, so you touched on that already, attending that conference and being able to connect with other people at other levels of government. But in terms of just the number of community events that I'm guessing you participate, maybe you were already participating in these anyways, but especially as a city councilor, there's probably some level of expectation that you're at various community events. What kind of local networking benefit have you gotten? And I'll add into that, if you have kind of a networking tip, because you mentioned you were already good at this from attending other RE/MAX conferences, other real estate conferences. So for an agent who is maybe watching or listening to this episode, what's kind of a networking tip and what benefit have you gotten from local networking?
So we get to go to every event where we get asked to, go to every event that's going on, whether it be a local Chamber of Commerce event or Communities in Bloom event or Community in Futures, emergency preparedness workshops. So there's lots of different events at the Charles Bailey Theater, the Visac Gallery. So there's lots of different moving parts. And I think it's really beneficial, city councilor wise, just to know what's going on and how these, groups are, what they're doing or how they're moving forward or things that they're working on. But beyond that, in real estate, it's really nice to have those relationships. It's not necessarily just about networking and, meeting people. It's also about how do you then build a relationship with these people? And how do you get them to remember you and be able to, if someone asks, hey, do you know a realtor? They go, yeah, I know someone. That part of it for me is the most imperative. It's, if you ask one of the other local counselors, I'm like the networking guru. And he goes, you just send Counselor Hanson in and she's going to come out with like 16 business cards. But it's, being able, not afraid, being confident, being able to say, I don't know you, but here's who I am and where are you from and what do you do and who do you represent? Because guess what? The worst thing they're going to be like is they're kind of crazy and you go, great. Hi, nice to meet you. And they're going to remember you. So not being afraid to go and chat with people that you don't know. It's really hard to kind of get stuck in the corner and be like on your phone but you go up and you have an opportunity. I ended up meeting someone that was trying to meet me for 3 days just because I told her I liked her dress in the elevator. And she's like, you're from Trail? And I said, yeah. She goes, I've actually been trying to meet someone from Trail this whole week. And here you are. So I think it's just being open to conversation, talking about, why the grass is green or the sky is blue, just going up and being approachable to someone. And just having something of value to share with them. I mean, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm from, in real estate, right? I'm from RE/MAX. I service, this area here. Oh, I actually know someone that lives there. So just finding something to talk about with people, whether it be their shirt, whether it be the food, whether it be, and that is a great in, and then that just opens up an opportunity for more conversation.
So Tia, this recording's happening early summer, early July. Episode I would anticipate will be released later July. And then if we look at August, it's Month of Miracles. And I think, we've talked about giving back to the community. A big core piece of RE/MAX is giving back as well to the Children's Miracle Network and all the differences that children's hospitals throughout the country make. Why do you think it's important, if there's an agent listening to this who maybe isn't involved or maybe could be giving a little bit more back, why do you think that this is something that's a really key piece within their career?
Well, I'm very passionate about this. I am a CMN donor. I have been since day one. I have been in the top 10 donors in all of BC for CMN for the last couple of years. It's important because I almost had to use them. And I also know a family who's had to use their services a few times, a couple different families locally. And it's something that, you know, for me, I can open up that conversation with someone and say, you know, here I'm Tia, you know, let's talk about your house. And oh, by the way, and that opens up just a whole new level of respect, of trust, of compassion and caring that they might not know you have, right? So this year, this is our second year coming. Last year as a whole, our office did our first annual CMN family pool party. So we rent a local pool. It's an outdoor pool for the evening, and we have local companies that donate gifts, and it's all by donation. And then we sell, we do silent auctions for it. And it's a great way to give back to our community. Then the community then sees us and they see that we care. But also we have a couple of those families come and share their story. And so then people understand the significance, even in a small town. I mean, gosh, our closest children's hospital is 7 hours away from us, right? So our BC Children's Hospital is 7 hours from us. So it is a significant feat to be able to go to Vancouver for anybody in our community that needs that care for their kids. So, you know, knowing that we as local people in a smaller rural community, we are giving to make sure that their children are taken care of when they need that, even though it's not here. It's just, it brings a tear to my eye because I think it's really important that people know that.
Yeah, 100%. You know, a lot of this conversation we've talked about threaded in some of the business use cases for why there's a benefit. I mean, the benefit of networking with other people, potentially getting business that way, having that knowledge for your career. But what about just like the personal feeling? Like, how does all of this make you feel? Like knowing that you are one of the top 10. Thank you, by the way. That's a massive thing. And it's something that your donations, it's changing lives, right? That's a huge thing. But how does that make you feel?
More than anything, I'm a parent, and I want to make this community, I want to make our society the best it can be for my children in the future. So it's, you know, I love my job. I love my career. I love the business. I love real estate. I love being the first person people tell that they're having a baby and that's why they're buying a bigger house, or the person that helps someone because their mom's passed and now they've got a family home and they want me because of my compassion and my emotion and being able to help them through a hard time. But the giving back to my community, you know, it really fills my cup, because there are people that take that kind of thing for granted, that things just magically happen, but things don't magically happen. There is a team of volunteers and people giving their heart and souls to make things happen in their communities. And those individuals should be very much appreciated for all the work that they do. Because, you know, if you don't have time and someone else does, they're being able to contribute to society in a way you can't. So I think for me, it's more the being able to say that I have left my mark on the world, or some sort of significance for my children, a legacy, I guess, you know, you could say that these are the things that, you know, my mom was able to help with as, you know, as they get older. And that's important.
And, you know, speaking of your children there, I mean, we've touched on kind of 3 of the 4 aspects of how you've been giving back, with the community volunteering, with the fact you're a realtor, the fact that you're on city council, but then the other, maybe the biggest job of all, is being a mom. And, you know, for all the parents out there listening, like, how do you kind of make sure that you're doing a good job at that as well with all of the other responsibilities?
You know what, in this world, raising kids is hard. You know, it was never easy, but, you know, it's getting significantly harder raising children. You need two parents that work to be able to afford life for affordability purposes. You also, there's so much ick in the world, right? And I just say that thoughtfully, of bad juju, and, you know, you just want to raise good humans, right? Like, it's really that simple. I want you to be respectful. I want you to be independent. I want you to work hard. And, you know, my children acknowledging that. My kids come and help me put signs up. My kids come with me to events. My kids, you know, wear the, you know, need a realtor, call my mom t-shirts. And, you know, when my kids say, you know, to me, I'm going to be a realtor one day, Mom. I mean, I could say, that's pretty cool. You know, Mom, you're really good at your job. You know, people like you, and we can go on cool trips because you've got a job that allows that. But if you've got stuff going on and you need to be there, or pick me up from dance, or, you know, you have a job that, you know, as long as we have it coordinated, you can be the mom to do those things still. So, you know, it's hard being a parent, but I don't answer my phone during dinner. That's a hard no for me. You know, that is my time to catch up with my kids in the day. I don't answer my phone after a certain time at night, because that's my time to get them to bed, to read books, to whatever. I mean, if I'm in a deal, sure, I'll check my phone if there's something I've got to respond to. But otherwise, I try really hard to give them that time. And, you know, they know that, you know, on the weekends, I generally only try to work one day on the weekend if I can help it. So that way I have that dedicated time with them. And I know they appreciate it. My husband appreciates it. But also, you know, them cheering me on, like, oh my God, Mom, that's so cool. You just won an award. You know, my daughter's at school telling everybody that, you know, I won the Business of the Year award. She's like, my mom's the best business in trail. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, hold on. I just won an award. It was just a voted thing. Like, but I mean, that to me is like, I'm raising good humans, and they appreciate and understand what I do.
100%.
So, and even their little friends are like, Auntie Tia, I drove by and I saw your sign on this street. I'm like, well, it's cool that you can learn to read now and you can see my signs.
I love it. Tia, you're doing a phenomenal job. You know, one thing that we didn't even touch on, but it's definitely worth mentioning, is the fact that you've also been an OG ambassador from the beginning that we launched the Young Leaders Network. You've been representing BC Interior. Maybe just some quick thoughts on the YLN and what it's meant to you over the years.
You know, it's funny you say that, Wade, because I remember it was during COVID, and it wasn't all across Canada at the time. It was only Western when we originally started. Like, I'm literally looking at my Spirit of the West Award across on my shelf right now. And that first group that we first had, and I mean, and now it's grown to just a bigger group of amazing cheerleaders. I literally text Tim Hill today about a thing. I reached out to Amber Tryhill about something. I have this family, you know, that you're not my competition. You're not. But how can you help me, and how can I help you do something better? How can I give you some advice on something that I've done really great at? And so for me, that is the biggest takeaway. I mean, having you and Jeremy and Simon, well, unfortunately, Simon not anymore, but having you guys as part of our team, and Wade, and Kingsley, seriously. But I think just the family, and you just have this amazing support network when something happens. Like, I'm sitting here and my phone's blowing up because of someone's new listing on a group chat. And everybody was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Congratulations. It's your first listing. This is so cool. I mean, everybody wants a cheerleader. Why not have a group of them?
Well said, Tia. Well, since this is Power Moves Young Leaders Network Edition, we like to end every episode with a power move. So, Tia, when it comes to real estate, what is your power move?
Well, I would say my pivotal point would have been starting to do video when no one else was doing it. No one in our area was into video. It was actually Amber Tryhill from Winnipeg that I was asking her about her video because I thought it was really cool and it was something that no one around here had been doing. And she was an amazing asset for me. But beyond that, now everybody else is doing video, right? So I would say, don't necessarily just do what everybody else is doing because now it's an expectation. Learn to pivot, change, and do better. So find something else, find a new niche, change your video, change your marketing, offer something else that no one else is offering. So that way you can set yourself apart from your competition.
I love that. Tia, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Power Moves YLN Edition.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Wade. I so look forward to this.